Much to thank you so much for subscribing.
All on my name, 'cause you knew that I'd go on every party in LA. 'Cause you knew that go around, knew that I'd call you up. You've been go around every party in LA. 'Cause you knew that knew that I'd call you that. Throwing that dirt all on my name, 'cause you knew that knew that around throwing all you up. You've been go around every party.
3, 2, 1, go!
23 Minecraft things that are actually possible. Minecraft is a sandbox game, meaning that sometimes we're able to pull off some wild stunts. Stuff that even by the game zone rules seems out of place. And so today, we're looking at those strange Minecraft concepts that actually work. And hey, the YouTube businessman bets me that you can't subscribe to the channel before I reach the roof. So to prove them wrong, float over to that red sub button. It's free, and it helps out a ton. Number 1. Famously, water and lava don't mix. Or at least, not without making some cobblestone or obsidian in the process. But with the new 1.17 update, there's actually a way to put both of these two together in harmony. And go figure, it's thanks to the ollie-coated cauldron. Now, we've talked in the past about just how screwy this block is, and here it's no different. Since with the new lava cauldrons, we're fully capable to put these underwater like so and have a lava lamp in the deep blue, which is cool, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Number 2. Now, thankfully, Java Minecraft doesn't have much for microtransactions, but that does leave us behind in terms of cosmetics. Or rather, it would if we didn't have this command. You see, with the /item replace command, we can put blocks and items on our armor slots that we couldn't normally. So, sure, Steve doesn't normally have a mohawk, but put an anvil on your helmet and the problem's solved. Or you can add an emerald to your head and look like a sim. Really, the possibilities here are quite open, so now it's all up to you to find your favorite one. Number 3. So, Mojang has gone on the record against adding in vertical slabs, which has spawned its fair share of debates. And while I'm not trying to argue either side, I will mention that, for what it's worth, it is a little possible right now. See, through the help of walls and TNT, it's possible to glitch out the block's connectivity and leave a vertical slab floating like so. Now, it's not easy enough to do to justify putting a bunch of these in your build, but it is a cool way to break Mojang's rules. And if you ask me, it's worth doing just for that. Number 4. If you've played on Bedrock Edition, then you know that this version is full of some pretty wild stuff. And my favorite of which might just be this glitch. You see, while ziplines in Java normally require command blocks or mods, here, we're able to do it all with a glitch. As it is, if you start swimming in the water and then exit with a roof overhead, you can still glide along the blocks while swimming, meaning all we need is a few chains and a path to make a fully functional zipline, which I think is just awesome. Number 5. Now, saving yourself from a fall with a water bucket is nothing new. And if you ask me, it's been done to death. So how about we try to get a bit more creative for our MLG save and turn to potions instead? No joke, using something like a slow falling potion, we're capable to make a safe landing from a dangerous fall. And to pull this off, the technique isn't too different from what it is for the water bucket, since it all hinges on pressing right click at the
Signing up to the gym seems easy, but
right time. And if you do that, your legs will thank you. Number 6. If you've been to the end, you've surely come across this little guy, better known as the shulker. But while we're all familiar with them, you maybe haven't seen one like this. As it turns out, even though we commonly see them in their purple hue, shulkers can be dyed along the full spectrum of colors. Now, in Java, the way that we do this is by using the scoreboard commands and changing their teams, but in Bedrock, it's actually as simple as splashing them with a fistful of dye. And then there you have it, the change is made. Number 7. When you build something cool in Minecraft, you might need the right angle to show it off. And despite what it says, the built-in cinematic camera doesn't always cut it. So instead, why don't we take after modern cinematographers and use a drone shot instead? Now, obviously, you're not flying something like this in a Minecraft world, but with a pair of wings and a slow-falling potion, we can actually get some pretty smooth shots. So if your build requires something a little bit more than a standard walk-around, this might be the best way to show it off to your friends. Number 8. The community is always looking for ways to push Minecraft to its limits. And if you've played parkour, then you know that jumping is no exception. And that'd be how the Olympians of the game have found a vanilla way to clear 8 blocks with ease. And folks, it's all done without the speed effect. As you can see, if we build up the right amount of speed on this path, we can launch ourselves over the gap with no problem. So if you're looking for the gold medal in the long jump category, then maybe grab some ice and trap doors and you'll have that record locked down. Number 9. Now, hitboxes in Minecraft are a funny thing. And while sure, there are plenty of glitches that manipulate this, we can also do some weird things in the base game. For example, let's take a look at crawling. However, the tunnel that we're using this time might be a bit more cramped than you're used to. But even then, we can surely crawl within the tiny space between these piston heads, which is cool, but really, I've got no practical reason on why to do this. And for your safety, I'd recommend getting out of there before someone flips the lever. Number 10. Clearly, Steve and Alex are pretty strong. I mean, how else would they be able to carry around mass amounts of stone and food in their inventories? But while we're used to holding blocks and items, what if we tried to carry a mob instead? And no, I'm not talking about a parrot on your shoulder, but rather doing something like this. Because of the way that hitbox collisions work in Bedrock, we're able to carry mobs like Enderman up and down the ladders like so, which looks uncomfortable for the both of us, to say the least. Number 11. Now, my eyesight isn't perfect, but even with 20/20 vision, I imagine it's pretty hard to see blocks from this far away. Or at least it would be if we didn't have some help. Now sure, we could use the spyglass item from the recent Caves and Cliffs update, but folks, that only goes so far. So what we really need to do for a super zoom in is to mix together low FOV, max slowness, the spyglass, and then the Optifine zoom tomb to top it all off. And with those folks, even the far lands will look just like they're in your backyard. Number 12. So famously, Minecraft has had the ability to see yourself in third person. And while that F5 functionality is nice, it's not exactly comprehensive, meaning that certain angles are still off limits. But we might have a way to fix that. Because for whatever reason, if you want to see yourself fall into bed, all we need is a trap door to make it happen. Yeah, no joke. If we crawl into this and then fall asleep, we can see the player's body collapse into the bed like so, which almost looks like an intentional animation, even if it's just an illusion. Number 13. Over the years, Minecraft has steadily added new pets to choose from. While everyone else opts for a dog or maybe the new axolotl, what if you want something a bit more unique? Well, there is a solution, albeit a weird one. Now, of course, the main thing that you're looking for with a pet is loyalty. So why don't go straight to the source with a Loyalty 3 Trident? No kidding, what this thing lacks in pulse, it apparently makes up for in companionship. So simply throw the thing, fill up your inventory slots, and then you can watch it follow you around. Number 14. Every now and then, you've got to break the laws of physics. And while Minecraft doesn't exactly abide by gravity, that doesn't mean we can't break its own rules too. And one of my favorite ways to do that might just be these so-called illegal water and lava source blocks. After laying out the proper arrangement of sticky pistons and redstone, we can just about glitch out the game. And then, even after removing the surrounding blocks, we can still interact with these as normal source blocks. So if you're looking for a floating art piece to put in your base, this might do the trick. Number 15. When you're playing in PvP, sometimes the retreat is just as important as the attack. But without turning around, it's hard to get much speed on that escape, though that could all change with the right key presses. As it is in Bedrock Edition, if you sprint forward and then backpedal while still holding down the sprint button, we can move with the same speed going the other way. And hey, we can even still jump and attack while we're backing up, making this pretty well equipped for combat, and it's definitely worth a try during your next 1v1. Number 16. As the classic saying goes, true love knows no bounds. And if you need any more proof, then there's actually an experiment that we could use within Minecraft. If we set up a mob on either side of this wall, then we can feed them as usual and get a baby just the same. Which I'm not going to argue that makes any sense, but it's clearly possible. So if you're looking to create a tragic love story or next cow farm, then I guess this is a way to do that. Number 17. When I mention water travel, you're maybe thinking of something like this, or this, but probably not this, which is unfortunate because it turns out that minecarts can be surprisingly fun to ride over the river. If you line the underbelly of a nearby lake with soul sand, then the bubbles provide a powerful enough stream to float our cart across. And hey, if you play on Bedrock, these bubbles don't break your momentum, meaning we can make a pretty fun roller coaster to ride through the roaring tides. So next time you're crafting, maybe switch out those 5 planks for some iron instead. Number 18. Despite what you might think, these elytra wings are not much for flying, more so just hovering. So if you don't have the proper rocket fuel, it's hard to get off the ground. Unless, of course, you've got the timing right. Since if we take an elytra and some well-timed bounces, it's possible to supercharge our jump height. And while we only got a 4.5 blocks in our testing, some players report a potential 5.5 blocks and beyond if you nail the technique, which is just crazy to see. Number 19. As we've talked about in the past, campfires can have a chunk of benefits over their furnace counterparts. And while that's true, it can still be quite annoying for one of these to fizzle out. So whether it was your friend with a shovel or a rainstorm overhead, the fact still remains that we gotta reignite this thing. And while a flint and steel would be the obvious choice, we've actually got some much stranger options to use. See, in certain cases, it's possible to light the campfire using a fire aspect sword, a book, or even yourself to catch the flame. And I'll let you guess which one's the safer option. Number 20. The world border is a weird fixture in Minecraft, and while others have used it to create illegal double slab variants, I think we should just ditch the border entirely. And as so, to do our own attempt at a Wind Waker barrier skip, all we need is a boat and some persistence. By simply placing the boat halfway through the barrier, we can hop in and row ourselves right over to the outer limits. And then, stranger still might be that by going far enough, the boat can even break down into planks and sticks, just like it used to in the past. Number 21. The way that Minecraft is, it's really easy to build a pillar, but really awkward to build downwards. And without a water source to cling to, most of us might think that such a thing is impossible, but that's just not true. If we just so happen to have 2 trapdoors on hand, then we can use this crawl technique like so to slowly maneuver ourselves down the path. Is it tedious? Absolutely. But the fact still remains that if you need to build downwards in a pinch, this might be your best bet. Number 22. Killing the Ender Dragon is a rite of passage. And while it's a feat to slay the beast in any amount of time, it's obviously impressive to speedrun the fight as well. Which is probably why so many of us have brought beds to the end to do just that. But were you aware of just how fast this strategy allows for? Because if you're willing to learn the time and precision for placing the beds just right, it's possible to kill the dragon in just one perch. And folks, that's insane, so if you can do it, you have every right to be proud of yourself. Number 23. A long-held fact in Minecraft is that the end and the nether do not mix. I mean, you can't make a nether portal in the end, so the two seem pretty exclusionary. That is, until we do something like this. If we go into the world files of the game and switch out the folder called dim1 for another world's file, we can actually swap out the dimensions for new ones, meaning we could have our nether be the end, or the overworld. And believe me, it's as confusing to pull off as it sounds, but it can also look quite cool. And with that, folks, amaze that subscribe button below, and have a good one. Alright? 25 Minecraft things you'll probably never see. Minecraft is built off random generation, which means that some sites are a rare find, which is a shame because some of these special somethings are a real sight to see. So today, we're taking a glance at these odd picks so they don't go unnoticed. And hey, the YouTube librarian bets that you can't subscribe to the channel before this pig hits the ground. So to prove them wrong, saddle that red sub button below. It's free, and it helps out a ton. Number 1. Now, when we're talking about rare finds in Minecraft, the first thing that comes to mind is the different structures. And while it's already a roll of dice to find just one of these, how about two of them put together? No joke, on this seed we can see both the desert pyramid and its pillager outpost roof, which is a weird combo for sure, and it probably adds more stress than necessary when you're trying to raid the temple. But I guess if you don't find emeralds down in the chest, there's always another supplier up top. Number 2. I'm sure you're familiar with this white whale, the so-called mushroom fields biome. And as the rarest non-variant biome in the game, finding one of these is tough enough of a task to pull off. But if you find something like this, it might just be even rarer. You see, normally these would spawn as an island of sorts, surrounded by ocean on all of its fronts. But here, we've got forest around the perimeter. So I guess if you get tired of all the fungus among us, then at least your log cabin's always a short walk away. Number 3. In any survival run, there comes a time where you've got to buckle down and find that end portal. And while it's usually a tall order, this map might just be the easiest I've seen. Here, we barely even need the Eyes of Ender, because as soon as we're in range, it's pretty obvious where the stronghold starts. Which is a cool sight for a lot of reasons, and it definitely helps you to start your search for that last dimension. So if you're looking for some extra help on your next run, the seed might be the solution. Number 4. If you've played around with Minecraft's fast travel, then you're well aware that ice and boats go great together. And while that's true, this just seems like overkill. Apparently, it's possible for a shipwreck to not only generate this high above sea level, but also on top of a glacier. Which, if you ask me, looks like proof of a pretty lousy captain. Or who knows, maybe this is an alternate timeline where Titanic and the iceberg made amends. And whatever lore you choose to believe, the site is still arguably cool to see. Number 5. It only takes one look at the Minecraft subreddit to see just how many people make builds for their significant others. And while that is sweet, maybe you want something a bit more unique for yours. Well, if that's the case, Minecraft's world generation might just be your perfect wingman. Now, down on the surface, it doesn't look like too much out of the ordinary. Just a forest next to a mesa. But from above, it's clear to see that there's a heart carved right into the spawn location, which proves that even the Badlands biome might still have some good left in it. Number 6. Finding diamonds can be a competitive subject. And I know that I always race my friends to see which one of us can get the achievement first on a new world. And sure, that's a fun contest, but this might take the cake for the bragging rights. As you can see, in certain versions of the game, it's possible to find a vein of diamonds the size of 14 blocks, which I think is downright insane. And if you pack along your Fortune 3 pickaxe, then this might just be enough to fuel you up on diamonds for the next few updates. Number 7. At some point, I think we've all wanted to live in a penthouse with a view. And while in the real world that carries a hefty price tag, it seems the pillagers might have found the emeralds to make it happen. Under the right conditions, it's not only possible to come across a woodland mansion, which might I add is already rare, but then also find one that's as tall as this. And folks, while this could happen on an amplified world, as you can see from this seed, we can even have one that occurs naturally, giving us quite the wild sight. Number 8. When you're trying to optimize your Minecraft world, then a mob spawner is a must-have. But while most of us settle to find just 1 or 2 of these for our purposes, user Neil4879 found 8 of these within a single area. And what's even better is that they're all within range for the player to trigger the spawning. So if you've got the time to clear out all the blocks and design the mechanics, found 8 of these one of the craziest mob farms in the game that you could make without a world eater. Number 9. Minecraft has its fair share of rare biomes. And while usually we'd picture an ice spikes or mushroom fields biome for that, what if I told you there's something even rarer? Now, I get it, on first glance, it doesn't appear too different from a jungle nearby. But what's actually happening here is that this is what's called a modified jungle edge biome. And this biome type only occupies a millionth of the total overworld, which makes this 1,000 times rarer than a mushroom field. this might be the only one we ever see. Number 10. I'll admit it, throwing eggs in Minecraft is a fun pastime. Though when I'm chucking all those eggs, I have wondered, what are the odds to get a chicken from every single egg in a single stack? Given that there is a 1 out of 8 chance for at least one chicken to come from a given egg, then we can take that to the 16th power and figure that there's a chance of over 1 in 281 trillion for all of those eggs to be lucky. And then folks, if we try to figure the odds of getting 64 chickens from those 16 eggs, we get something a whole lot messier too. Number 11. Unless you're looking for a green bed, finding a Minecraft cactus isn't a big priority. Though that doesn't stop folks in the community from searching the deserts. Because as you can see, these cacti can grow a lot taller than we're used to. And the best part is that it can all happen naturally. Now, while there have been some impressive picks like this 8-block cactus in the 1.16 update, the clear Goliath for this has to be this then record-breaking 20-block tall cactus. So while a taller one might still happen in theory, this is still ridiculous to see. Number 12. Possibly any speedrunner's least favorite part of a run is the hunt for ender eyes. And the reason being comes down to the amount of random luck that you need for the blaze rods and the ender pearls. So if you're fed up with wasting your RNG on those, there is another option. And no, it's not that one. But rather, it's that it's possible to find a fully loaded end portal with all of the eyes intact. And while it has been found before, you're gonna need a lot more RNG to recreate this. So maybe piglin bartering's still the way to go. Number 13. Now, I get it, horses aren't exactly a preferred way to travel, but it's always nice to have a shiny set of armor, and having all 3 of them is gonna look even better. So if you're looking for all the spiffy duds for your stud, then you could always roll the dice for a situation like this. In this ultra chest in the stronghold, we've got a full set of iron, gold, and diamond horse armor variants, which if you see this, maybe take a